people looking at Elon Musk like a god and Jeff Bezos like a god, and they're not a god. Jeff Bezos is a Cuban-American immigrant. Elon Musk, South African immigrant. And that's the beauty of America, that you can build something from scratch. And Jack Ma says it best. You want to be a billionaire? Go solve $1 billion problem.
We're in Houston right now, walking our new 56-unit crazy property here. It starts down there.
We got Allon, Avgi, $1 billion man.
Welcome to the Talk Shop Podcast. Today we are here with my good friend Muhammet Çıtıroğlu. Tell us about the startup.
All right, so my startup journey. COVID happened, and my world kind of turned upside down. I spent the business that I started with a $5,000 student loan when I was 18. By the time I was 23, I had successfully saved up about $300,000. COVID happened, and it seemed like the whole world was coming to an end. At that point, I took everything that I saved up. It was 5 years of just insane amount of work and just passion, and sacrifice. I put it all in the stock market. Within 3 months, I became a millionaire.
Great fucking story.
I remember that story.
I remember it too.
I was here.
You remember? We're all hanging out.
You're finally close to $1 million. Yeah, I remember that.
I turned 24. I had a little over $1 million in my TD Ameritrade account. And fast forward, by 25, I was completely broke. That's when, I realized that what I'd always, I made it a goal. I wanted to become a millionaire by 30. It happened by 24, and it was like, what's next? What's more to life than, I partied like a rock star for 6 months, and then I was depressed for 6 months. And all things that I cared about before. I didn't go to work. I didn't like to go to work anymore. I had already accomplished everything I wanted to do. And I started soul searching. And what went wrong? Why did I end up here? Right? And I realized, my happiness. I had more to contribute to the world than just, allocating capital. And that's when I said, you know what? The people who are changing the world, they're in the tech industry, and that's where I have to be. So this was around December, a little over a year ago, and I packed my shit, got on a plane, and I said, you know what? I was born in another country, and I don't even know. I barely know my relatives, And I went there. I traveled. I stayed there for 3 months, and I just started for the first time since the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey, I had just a couple months to just breathe and just, and that's when I went there, I saw it was really life changing. I saw true poverty. I think we take a lot for granted in our life, that everything. We get so caught up in the everyday working, watching your bank account, right? When I went there, I saw how I was, able to give hope to people that didn't have much, didn't have the opportunity that we have, here in the United States. And I did research in 4 different areas. Renewable energy, which I knew the barrier of entry was way out of my league. AI technology, blockchain, and automotive tech, and I started to search, where I can bring most value, and I found myself, after 3 months, in April 2021, I formed a corporation. I was able to convince the Turkish government to give us like an $80,000 subsidy, and that was the some of the early seed money we used to build out the first version. So we're launching Monday, and we're gonna have 2.0 ready by June. So we got our work cut out for us for sure.
How big's the team?
So we have 5 developers, and we have 3 staff members in the operations.
Plus you.
Plus me.
So it's
yep.
9-person team.
9-person team. Yep.
And you're floating the whole salary, everything.
Yeah, so how I'm funding the business is I have my retail business here, thank God. Even though I took a big hit last year in the stock market, it taught me a lesson, taught me the value of money. And we sell 30, 40 cars a month. We did over 4.9 million in sales last year. And, so the currency exchange rate in Turkey is 13 for every $1 US. So to build a tech team, six software developers in Silicon Valley would cost well over 60 grand a month. We're able to keep our expenses fairly reasonable. And so what we want to do is build out a prototype where we can carry this over to another dozen developing countries. And so blockchain is really going to revolutionize the way capital markets work. Right now the US economy has a big problem. Inflation's going up and the rate of return is not there, and they're going to have to seek better opportunities elsewhere and those opportunities are in the developing world. They're in South America, Central America, Africa, Central Asia, and I think with blockchain, the flow of capital, no one can control it at this point. Yeah. It's just a matter of, can you direct it and who do you want to do business with? And Turkey is a NATO country. They have been since I believe 1950s. So we want to, and the best part about tech is once you build the technology once, it doesn't cost much more to replicate it 10 times over. So we're building, so when I went there, I saw a tremendous opportunity in the financial industry and the tech industry. So we said, where do we start? The business that I understand the best is the car business. I spent about a month. My grandfather, he spent 36 years in the automotive industry. The company he retired from, I spent about a whole month. It's a 7 franchise car dealership group. I interviewed briefly even every single employee there. I tried to understand how their market works compared to ours. And what I saw was, they were a solid 5 years behind in technology. The way they run their businesses, their dealerships. Even being a pre-owned dealership in the United States, their franchise dealerships don't have a BDC department, digital marketing. It's like it's like the 2000s.
So the process takes longer to get a car, right?
Yep, process takes longer, and that's where I saw the most opportunity. I said, you know what? Their prime rate is about 15%.
Wow. That's crazy.
So,
yeah.
I met my grandfather's, the company he retired from. This guy, he owns 7 franchise dealerships. Hyundai, Fiat, Nissan, and he's paying 1.5% per month interest for his new car inventory. I was like, and it blew my mind. I was like, and that's when I realized, capital doesn't reach every part of the world the way it's accessible to us.
What a niche, huh? See what he's recognizing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Solving a problem.
So that's the problem you're solving. Yeah.
So, I saw a common need. What is that? Access to capital in a quick, easy, efficient way. And blockchain is the perfect solution for something like that. Right now, there's over $2.7 trillion in digital assets floating around the world, over 2,000 different coins. And they're all competing with each other, and we're going to be amongst them. We're building our own token, Marathon token. It's going to be used we're building a commodity-backed stablecoin. So there's a lot of different kinds of coins out there. Ours, we're not like Shiba Uno. We're not going to promise you the world.
If we bought it day one, it would have been the world.
I would be sitting here.
Yeah. We would be having this podcast in the Maldives.
But what our coin does offer is protection against inflation. And that's going to be one of the biggest issues for economies all over the world in the next 5-10 years. The US dollar is experiencing almost 7% inflation. It hasn't been seen in over 40 years. And it's much worse in developing countries. The reason being is 1973, Richard Nixon left the gold standard. And maybe those measures were necessary at the time. But COVID has shown in 2008, and you had the
Financial crisis?
you had the dot-com bubble in 99.
Yep.
In 08, you had, what happened, all of a sudden, a whole class of assets were under question. And that fear spread all over the world and caused chaos globally, right? And in 2009, blockchain was invented. Decentralized system where what blockchain promises is transparency and having a global ledger where all transactions could be recorded, where everyone sees everything. And you know, the biggest problem that all these coins are having a difficult time accomplishing is how do we integrate this to real life, right? And that's what we're trying to work on. We're trying to bring real life business application to this wonderful technology.
Yeah, well, you have the opportunity to be great right now because you recognized an issue that most of the world would never see, and you're figuring it out, right? So you're most likely going to be one of the greats, right? I know you as an entrepreneur, so I can say that. But there's a probability that it won't work out because that's the beautiful piece of being an entrepreneur. You're rolling the dice, but you're really rolling it,
And 90% of startups fail. So we're bootstrapping just like most startups.
I love that you're bootstrapping. That goes unsaid in a lot of conversations when talking about startups. It's like you're putting your money where your mouth is. Real entrepreneur, all the balls in the world, you're putting it out there, and you're not taking anybody else's money just yet to make your vision come to reality. So you're being a man about what you want to do, right? You're putting your goals first, and then your money's coming after that. So that's it. I love that. That's a real entrepreneur.
And that doesn't come easy. And when I went to Turkey, I saw, people looking at Elon Musk like a god and Jeff Bezos like a god. And they're not a god. Jeff Bezos is a Cuban-American immigrant. Elon Musk, South African immigrant. And that's the beauty of America, that you can build something from scratch. And as Jack Ma says it best, you want to be a billionaire, go solve $1 billion problem. What I most enjoyed about that real estate firm is that I made a lifelong friend like you. And actually, funny thing is, I sold more cars to the real estate agents working there
Another problem.
than selling real estate.
The money in the gold rush was made by the guy selling the pickets, right? The shovels.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's the real estate agents. It's genius.
Yeah, crypto's still booming, man. Still booming.
It's crazy.
But where did all these coins come from?
The internet was invented in the 80s, and we didn't find a use for it until the 90s, until regulation came, Section 203 in 96. And that's the path that Web 3.0. So difference between Web 3.0 is and the internet as we know it is. It's like you don't own your Facebook account, right? The revenue that comes in from owning that digital property, intellectual property, which is your account, goes to Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's what's different about 3.0, like metaverse. Building out. You can own a piece of virtual reality, instead of a real property, an intellectual property. And a lot of these and that's what's really beautiful. And regulation's gonna come. It's coming already. And Turkey is a great country for that because they're experiencing a lot more financial problems than we are, which when people have that, they're more willing to consider alternatives.
Right.
And, be open-minded. And, we're hoping that we can build that model there and bring it back home as a solution. And we got a long way to go, but when the regulation does come, it's gonna, investors will be able to invest in globally without, and you can have where capital will flow to wherever the best rate of return is. So that could be Bogota, Colombia. That could be Istanbul. It could be Mexico City. It doesn't matter. And that's what we need that.
But now so explain to me how this coin thing works. Like you're doing an ICO, and you're raising money through a coin. Now that coin is traded on what exchanges, and then that coin holds value because it's backed by your company?
So our coin is what's considered a commodity-backed stablecoin. So it's less volatile. other coins act like stocks, where if there's a high demand, price goes up, low demand, price goes down. Our coin is, the value of our coin is representative of the owner's equity in our company. So we're building what's called a portfolio fund in Turkey, which is basically, in the US, it's like a money market fund. And we're going to be issuing commercial paper, asset-backed commercial paper. That's the form that the investors will be able to own a piece of the ecosystem. So the money that we raise via selling our coin, 50% of it will be invested in real physical assets as gold in the Istanbul commodities stock market. That's where it'll through an intermediary bank, and the remaining 50% of the funds, it's going to be invested in the acquisition, 80% of the acquisition cost on our auction platform for car dealers, and then 20% will be the dealers. So they will purchase coins and use those as a credit to finance their acquisitions. So, and the business model that we're building it's a profit sharing system. So the dealers, once they purchase, in a country where interest rates are very high, we're offering dealers a way to, what I saw is lines of credits were available for franchise dealers, but the independent small dealership there, no access to capital at all. The only way they could get capital is they put up maybe a collateral on a home, piece of land. With us,
They need cash.
Right. And so if a dealership owns 20 cars, they'll be able to own 100 cars in stock and grow their businesses.
And how's the profit sharing work?
So the profit sharing, we're building an alternate credit rating system for the dealers, and we're going to be doing it all on the blockchain ledger. So dealers will acquire inventory 20% down. They will report to us their income. At the time of sale, they'll pay the principal plus their profit. 60% goes to the dealership, and 40% goes to my fund, so the portfolio fund.
Wow.
So what we're going to be doing is on this on blockchain, they're going to be compared to their peers. So if in dealers, the cars that they purchased and reported their profit and loss in similar parameters and time, and also similar inventory, comparable. They're going to be, so every 3 months, all the dealers will go through a performance evaluation. So the bottom 10% will be eliminated, and their capital will be allocated to the top 10% performers.
You think these mom and pops are going to be able to adapt to that though?
We're integrating ourselves into their existing businesses, and that's what's the beauty is, we're going into a market where we're weaving ourselves within the community, and we're building long-term relationships, and in what we're trying to show is that the way we understand finance is our economy is fragile. Look what happened with COVID. I'll tell you what happened in the U.S. with the car business. Within 30 days, wholesale prices plummeted 30%. Bondholders that finance inventory for Hertz, Enterprise, they all called in their bonds, and everyone had to liquidate all at once, which caused chaos and crisis. See, if those bondholders were partners with their capital holders, there wouldn't be as much chaos and panic. And
I understand the solution. I just feel like selling it to those, to your customer base is going to be so difficult.
You have to go in and change the systems. How much do you have to change when you go into a mom and pop?
Oh, there's tremendous demand. They're already right now. They're already buying their cars online from several car auctions. So those are the guys that we're competing with. What we're doing a little differently is we're also not only bringing the inventory, we're bringing the financing. So
what's your angle to get in the door with them?
Cheap money, and we're leaving it up to them to report to us. These dealers, they're paying 20% interest on their line of credit already. So when so most of the dealerships they don't finance their inventory because it's too expensive. And with us, they'll be able to purchase more. So if a dealership has 10 cars, it's a small mom and pop dealership in Turkey. I know the market's a lot smaller, right? If they have a 20 car dealership, they're selling 10 cars a month, and they're generating 10,000 liras per car, right? With us, they'll be able to have a lot more inventory, and their cash on cash rate of return is much higher. So with less money out of pocket, they'll be able to acquire more inventory. So instead of having 20 cars, they'll have a 60 car lot and sell 30 cars a month. And their rate of return is much higher, so it just makes financial sense for them. And how we're gonna determine the best performing dealers is just compare them to each other. We're selling the inventory, so we know. So if a dealer is saying they made no money on the car, we're not gonna be able to check that, right? But if their neighbor sold the same exact car last week and reported 3 times the income, you either lied or you don't know what you're doing, right? And every dealer we're going to be taking credit applications. So they have to be in business at least 5 years.
And all those sales, those are going to be verified on the blockchain.
Right. So
You can't cheat it. Right?
Right. So the way, actually, surprisingly, Turkey's titling system is a bit more advanced than ours. So every local area has a notary. So to become a notary office in Turkey, you have to be an attorney. And the title transfers, the government actually escrows the transactions. So that makes it easy for us.
What if somebody pays cash?
If they pay cash, they can do that. But what we anticipate is we're going to be flooding the market with capital. And the dealers that are selling cash are not going to get as much for their cars, because in the perspective of the buyer, which are the dealers, if they can generate a lot more profit, laying out less money out of pocket, and their cash on cash rate of return, return on investment is much higher, they'll pay more for the car, and they're not going to pay cash. So what we're doing is we're building a rating system for the buyers, comparing them to their peers, and also a rating system for the sellers. So if the seller sells a less than perfect product, where the dealers that buy it can't make money, the selling dealer will get a rating. So if they're selling cars where they come back in arbitration, so eventually the dealers, their punishment, the selling dealers, they can only sell cash because they're going to get less money for the car. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Depends who you ask, but yeah.
For sure. When you compare it to like stocks and bonds, right? So
Well, bonds are garbage.
Yeah.
it's look at what happened in China, in their real estate industry.
Yeah. Yep, Evergrande.
Evergrande.
They destroyed everyone with what they just defaulted on. Yep. They're shaking up the entire market, those guys.
And that's the challenge of doing business in developing countries. But what we hope to do is build relationship with our dealers where, and ride out the volatilities and maximize profit.
Right.
That's what it really comes down to. You can have all these coins unless business comes down to just making connections, building relationships, and having a win-win proposal.
Yeah, that's it. It's just like the construction company, right, Matt?
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly the same thing. I completely understand.
Yeah, it's totally the same.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Look,
You think you're gonna take this into the United States one day?
So what I imagine is this. I always envision myself tearing it up on Wall Street, and that's what I exactly plan on doing. So Fortune 500 CEOs, 94% of them are white American, 7% female. I intend on being the first Muslim American Fortune 500 CEO from immigrant families that put their minds together and build relationships in their home countries, and South America, Central America, Africa. These are the countries with the best return on capital, and that's what we have. I want to be the JP Morgan of this time. Bring the solution to peace in the world, and we're gonna need that because right now the world doesn't seem like it's getting any better. To have lasting peace, we need to increase trade with our friends, allied countries, and we need to go back to the gold standard and have this free flow of capital. There's no stopping it now. It's too far gone. We're 10 years into blockchain, and the only way we can kind of guide it, and this is what, with inflation now going up in the United States, we're gonna need better return on capital. How are we gonna pay $31 trillion in debt? These are the
Mo, how can people get involved in this or invest? The ICO, when is it coming up? And what's the deal? Yeah.
So our ICO is going to be ready. Right now, what we're waiting for is approval from the Turkish government in becoming a official portfolio fund. Upon approval, we applied to a research and innovation program there. So in April, hopefully, the government will give us the green light, and they will completely understand our business model and what we're there to do. So at that point is when we're going to be launching our ICO and raising money.
And we could buy on what exchanges?
So you're going to be able to buy the coin at any exchange, like on Coinbase.
Wow, you anticipate being listed on Coinbase?
Initially, the initial coin offering, we anticipate being listed around June.
Wow.
So right now, what we're working on is building with the Turkish government. It's very important for me. We're doing international business is not easy, and a lot of these coins they're gray area, right? And we want none of that at all.
You want transparency.
Exactly, and we want to take the beauty of the technology, take advantage of it to bring efficiency to the banking industry, and also further relations between two countries that are friends already.
Got it. So I'm going to plug in your channels, your social media channels, and when you release this stuff, you have to post it so me and Matt and everybody listening that wants to buy can get involved. Matt, you good with $250,000? But we'll definitely hop in, and that's it, guys. We gotta wrap. Yeah,
Cool.
that was awesome.
That was a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like he was just going, and we were just getting, just trying to soak it in,
That was cool. That was crazy.
That was dope. All right, man.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming on.
Having me.
Yeah.